I realised how much I love being in my car and always have done. And I thought I might make a really super quick video because I've got like 8 minutes before our dinner is ready. So this is going to be a challenge. Uh, Gamify it. ADHD love that. Um, and I thought maybe I could do with doing a few videos on some of the ADHD symptoms that I experience and that are very common, and not only how they offer challenge in my life, but also how I have learned to manage them and in some ways capitalize on them. Because as someone whose brain works a different way than the norm, I experience the world in a very different way, and um, my experience of life is very different. And although that offers challenges and can make life more complicated, it also offers opportunity, and it means that that ability to see things and experience things in a different way can also be a real positive. So I wanted to kind of make a quick video about driving because um, many of you might have heard of Professor Russell Barkley. He's like a preeminent professor, has studied attention deficit disorders for donkey's years. And if you're ever wanting to kind of get a bit of reality check on how ADHD impacts people and how it actually impacts the brain, and some truth cut through some of the BS that is all over the internet about loads of people out there without ADHD saying it's all bunkum and things like that, and get kind of a really rational, professional, empathetic and compassionate view of it. Check out Russell Barkley's channels on YouTube or some of his books as well. Amazing guy, and really helped me in my questing before I decided to go for a diagnosis. It kind of really cemented a lot of what he was saying, really cemented my thoughts about it's worth going to check it out. And there are a lot of increased risks associated with someone with neurodivergence, with ADHD in particular. We experience a lot of negativity in our lives, so that can result in things like a much higher incidence of self-harm, unplanned pregnancy, addiction problems, suicide, attempted or actually committing suicide, and also an increased risk in having accidents when you drive, which, when you think about it, is actually quite understandable. Driving requires you to have your attention on several different things at once, not just what's going on in front of you and what you have to do yourself to drive the car, but also what everyone else is doing, what's happening on the road, what the conditions are like. And that split kind of attention can be tricky for people with ADHD. But there is a lot about driving that I really, really love and I enjoy. And although it's true that people with ADHD have more chance of having an accident or being involved in accidents when driving, and also if they are involved in an accident, it's likely to be more serious. And that was certainly true for me when I was younger. I had a few accidents, and when I was a bit more headstrong and impulsive. That's the key. Impulsivity is one of the main kind of ADHD traits, but I've learned to manage that now that I'm older. But when I was younger, it was really difficult, and that affected my driving. But I love driving. There's something about the motion that really kind of starts to still my brain a bit. It gives me enough to focus on, enough stimulus. There is the movement. I love movement. And a lot of people with ADHD find it much easier to stop overthinking and stop the racing brain when they're moving. That's why I love exercise. I love cycling, anything with movement. But driving is the same. I'm in my own little cocoon. So I have some control over things like how warm it is, how bright it is, how much, if there's music on, how loud it is, things that are going on. So that's really nice as well. And it's very, very soothing. And there are a few things that I've learned that help me to kind of really maximize that experience. One of them, and I was doing it just on the way here, is music. Music is lovely. But whereas I used to listen to like really loud, kind of energizing music when I was driving, I now listen to very relaxing, maybe a bit of folk music. Love a bit of Kareem Polwart is my favorite at the moment. ADHD, playing the same song 1,000 times, same album 1,000 times. Something quite calming. I like that. It adds to the experience. The other thing I really like is if you have a car where you can dim the information panel. I do, which is great. I can set it all up and then I can effectively switch it off. So there's no other light source in the cockpit apart from the lights on my dash, which gives me one less thing to focus on as well, makes it much easier. And I'm very light sensitive, so that helps with focus on the driving. Or sometimes no music at all. That's also really nice. Or podcasts. But podcasts as well, I have to be careful. I try not to have the exciting kind of true crime drama ones that take too much of my attention. But I listen to things like spiritual teachers. I mention Eckhart Tolle so much, and that's because he's been a real inspiration for me throughout my life. But he's got a way of being that is really calming and relaxing, and I can have in the background, and it helps me to get my head in the right space before I get to where I need to be, without taking too much of my attention. So that's another one. And the other one is speed. So there are so many more speed cameras here in Germany than the UK. You might think it's bad in the UK. They're bloody everywhere here. And for the first few weeks of me being here, I got loads of tickets because I was driving around in Frank's car, which has like no limiter on it or anything like that. My lovely Ford Puma has a magic button that says LIM, and it means it limits the car to the speed limit of the road that I'm driving on. And I keep that on religiously so that I can never drive too fast and I'm not likely to get a ticket. But also it makes the whole thing much more relaxing for me, because even when I drive out of one area and into another and the speed limit changes and drops, for example, even though I see the sign and I think to myself, okay, now I need to only drive at 50, which is like our equivalent 30 in the UK. It goes in my head. 2 seconds later, it's gone, and I'm like drifting over 50 again. It's like 55, which is expensive, but also more importantly dangerous. So I use that as well. So if there are things in your car that help you to manage those aspects of driving that can be more tricky, remembering how fast you're meant to be driving and things like that, then use them. Dimming the lights on the dash, use them. And also just finally finding different ways to get from A to B. That's another lovely thing. As someone with ADHD, I love novelty and anything that engages me in a different way. So I'm always looking for a back road or a quiet way. I hate motorways, hate autobahns. It's completely mind-numbing. It switches my brain off. It's more dangerous. So wherever I can, I take little country roads that require me to stay focused. There's lots of triggers. External triggers that help me to stay in the moment. So that's maybe a way that helps you to kind of drive more safely, but also enjoy being in the car if you enjoy it as much as I do. Tell me in the comments if this is a thing that resonates with you, that movement. I do know a lot of people with ADHD that love driving as well, that kind of sense of movement. So yeah, let me know. Ask me some questions. And I might do a few more videos like this, maybe a little series. So again, if there's other symptoms you want me to talk about in case I've found ways of managing them or not. We can maybe explore that together. So don't forget, I'm going to try and get into the habit, and I hate saying it, but I need people to follow me if we're going to keep this going. So if you're liking what I'm saying and it's of interest, then do like it. Comments are always wonderful, and I love subscribers, of course. I've got my first 3. Yeah, and remember, whatever you're doing, try not to think too much. Okay, take care. Bye.